Hey, it's Juck.
And I don't think he's going to throw the ball as much as he thinks he's going to throw the ball now that Chip Kelly's on board. And I'm happy about that. More quarterback.
The truth is, Ryan Day has made a change philosophically, but it's none of those.
You all know who wins. LSU is the drunkest fan base in the country.
And welcome to Juck on Bucks. Appreciate you so much for joining me. Last show ended before I was able to finish the show, and I was going to get to the list of official visitors, which I kind of just petered out towards the end there, and I said, I'll get to that tomorrow, and I was planning on doing that this morning. Didn't have time, so I figured I would pop on tonight and sneak on here and just do it live instead of recording it because my sons aren't home. My sons who play games every night, right? Video games, which I think takes up a lot of the broadband width, et cetera, things of that nature. They're actually at Penn State for like 5 days with their buddies. So they're in Happy Valley at some college house partying with their pals over at Penn State. And shout out to that crew. I'm sure they're tuning in. But so I figured maybe with the internet not being hogged by them, it might go off a little better. I don't know. But I wanted to sneak on here and go over that. Also talk to you guys. Hey, there's this new feature where you guys can, when you comment, it's popping up on the screen. Do you see that? That's pretty awesome. I like that new feature. But also had some comments that I wanted to go over. I was bebopping around answering some of the comments this morning, and I hadn't done that in like 3 days. You guys got some really good stuff. So I wanted to talk about some of your stuff. I always appreciate those. For everybody who takes time to leave a comment, challenge an opinion, I try to go over, things pretty well from all sides before I bring them to the show. But sometimes you bring up some really good points and it makes me question it. So we go over those things. But I really love the questions, and we got a couple of those we're going to get to. But let's start with the visitors coming in this weekend. They're in this weekend right now as it is Saturday evening. And we start with quarterback Luke Fahey, who is Mission Viejo's quarterback. Mission Viejo, Buckeye wide receiver freshman Phillip Bell's quarterback when he was there. He's 6 foot, 200 pounds. 4-star, lowly rated 4-star, like right at the cutoff, but he's got that 4-star, a top 25 quarterback, but not your normal Ohio State type of guy at quarterback, right? He's not, a Brady Edmonds. He's not a Tavian St. Clair, and he's coming into town without an offer. So really strange situation. Not sure that I can recall the last time that's happened on an official visit, but he's going to get his offer. He's going to get his offer, and when he does, the Buckeyes will be going up against Indiana and Stanford for this one. While Stanford is tempting for some kids, like there are some kids who, they'll choose Stanford over top-notch schools if they don't maybe think they have an NFL career. That is really a good school to have an affiliation with, a good school to get to know people. You're never going to have a hard time getting a job going out to Stanford. But ultimately, I think Fahey ends up a Buckeye, and I've thought that since he kind of first popped onto the scene because he's the only one. That's kind of it. He's the only guy. Unless somebody else emerges, which I don't think is going to happen at this point, or the Buckeyes choose to pass on him and maybe take 2 quarterbacks in 2027, it's going to be Fahey, and I'm good with that. He's a quality player, got kind of a point guard style of game, and he's very effective. Doesn't have a cannon for an arm. He's accurate. Obviously not super big, not super athletic, but he's mobile enough. And this quarterback class of 2026 was kind of something. You never could get one of those top guys early, and you might have, but Corey Dennis left and Jared Curtis went off the board for the Buckeyes. And then guys kind of just flew off really quick. And then Brady Edmonds committed. And when Brady Edmonds committed in the class of 2027, it was like doomed. You weren't going to get a dog in 26 to go sit between 2 NFL prototypes, Tavian St. Clair and Brady Edmonds. Just wasn't going to happen. So there was a lot of different ways the Buckeyes could go. One of them was Matt Panitaski. We'll talk about him at the end here because he's blowing it up at the Elite 11, which is pretty wild. But I think all things considered, Luke Fahey would be a really nice piece. Let's move to running back, where obviously the Buckeyes have Favor Aki in the class. Let me pull up the class right here as we're talking about it. Might as well look at it here. So Favor Aki in the class, and Derek Cooper is in town this week. Now, Derek Cooper, Savion Hyder, the number 1, number 2 guys in the country, and Derek Cooper, kind of an all-around player. The dude plays safety. He played linebacker. Like, he plays everywhere. He's awesome at everything out of Chaminade, Madonna. So he's He's out of Jeremiah's high school. And the Buckeyes taking a swing that they can grab maybe one of those two guys. If they can't, they're content with Favor. Derek Cooper was once a Georgia commit, decommitted from Georgia, but it's still looking like it's Georgia and Miami right at the top there, with Ohio State with a shot here. But like Sabian Hyder's deal came out, $600,000 to $800,000 is what his deal was potentially for Michigan. Tennessee probably going to match something like that. No doubt that Miami is going to throw that kind of money at Derek Cooper as well. So it's basically, can you convince one of those guys to value Ohio State more than a couple of $100,000? You know, sometimes it works. Most of the time it doesn't. I don't think the percentage is too high when it comes to that, but we'll see. I think the odds are you finish with Favor Akee in the class. And with just Favor Akee in the class, looking at next year, you've got 6 running backs in the class with the depth chart, you know, look like a 1-2 punch of Bo Jackson and James Peoples, which I love. Then you got Isaiah West, Favor Akee, Turbo Rogers, Sam Williams-Dixon. That's 6 guys, a lot of different skill sets. You would have loved to have one of these can't miss studs. And I don't see Favor as a can't miss stud, but he's got a pretty high ceiling. So how are you guys feeling about that running back class right there, just with Favor Akee? How do you feel about the running back room? And who is your guy in that running back room? My guy's Isaiah West. I love Isaiah West, not because I think he's the best guy. I think he's going to be a fan favorite, though. I think he's going to be a fan favorite. I think he's going to get more playing time than most people think in 2026, 25 or 26. And he's going to be one of the top dudes. He's going to end up being one of the 1-2 punch, which I think a lot of people don't feel he's going to be. And his running style is just nasty. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. He's physical, finishes every run, and he is very, very easy to like. So let's move to wide receiver. Obviously, the most talented position in this group. We look at Chris Henry Jr. He's in town. He's in town with his teammate, Caden Dixon-Wyatt from Mater Dei. Also in town is Brock Boyd out of South Lake Carroll in Texas. And Brock Boyd was voted by that Dave Campbell runs a Texas high school site, and it's like the most respected one in Texas. And he says that South Lake Carroll's quarterback and Brock Boyd are the most talented wide receiver quarterback combo in all of Texas football. So that's pretty cool to have our guy up there in that. And now, in addition to those 3 that are committed, you've got Jaquaden Guilford. Jaquaden Guilford, the number 1 player in Indiana, a wide receiver, 6'2". Do I have his card loaded? I think I do here. Let me see if we can pull this up. So here's Jaquaden Guilford. And when we look at this guy's rankings, he is the number 428 nationally, a 3-star kid. And I'm telling you, it does not match his film whatsoever. And I'll keep talking while I bring him up, but I just want you guys to see it. If you haven't seen him, I mean, this dude is a dog. He is a Brian Hartline special. He's fast. He's long. He's got hands. Obviously, he understands how to get open. I'm not quite sure why he's so low rated, but it's clear Hartline sees the value in him. And personally, if I was ranking these wide receivers, Chris Henry Jr., Caden Dixon-Wyatt up at the top, Brock Boyd, and Jaquaden Guilford, to me, are kind of even Steven as far as like what caliber of prospect and how far along they are in their development. Jaden Ricketts would be at the bottom, but that's not to say he doesn't have a ton of potential. He does. He's really, really fast, and he's got a lot to him, but he's just not that far developed. In addition, 5 is a lot, right? If you end up taking 5, but next year, you're probably losing Carnell Tate. You could be losing Brandon Innes. And after that, you're going to lose Jeremiah Smith. You may lose Mylan Graham after his 3rd year if he comes out and just totally pops off. And in addition to that, I'm kind of the feeling that we're going to see more and more guys who are leaving after year 3 than we were seeing getting these big sweetheart deals to stay home at college their senior year, because I think we're going to see some of that money reined in a little bit. But Jaquaden Guilford, really love him. I'd be really happy. He's looking at Indiana, Ole Miss, Ohio State. So we'll see how that one goes with him. And he's obviously in there with 3 Buckeye wide receivers this weekend. Could be awesome. In addition, we might see guys transfer out. What we never see in the wide receiver room is guys transfer in. And that is something of note. You know, when we talk about missing a recruit here or there, I get a lot of comments like, whatever, the portal. It is of note that the best position coach in college football, Brian Hartline, has still never brought a guy in from the portal. I'm just saying. All right, let's move to offensive line, and let me pull this back up here. Offensive line. We've got Sam Greer. We've got Max Riley, 2 top 100 prospects. You got Tucker Smith, and Tucker is he reminds me of an Ohio kid who's a little underrated. He's a dog, 6'5", loves to get violent, and he's just our kind of guy. And I've got a mea culpa to make. So JB Shabazz is coming into town this weekend. JB Shabazz is an offensive lineman out of North Carolina. I wasn't happy when Ohio State offered JB Shabazz, and somebody even brought this up the other day. They were like, JB Shabazz is Juck's favorite. So I wasn't happy about it because Adam Guthrie also is a tackle from Ohio and a better tackle and a higher rated prospect at the time. And I was irritated that JB Shabazz got offered before him. And then I went and watched JB Shabazz and didn't realize it, but I was watching his sophomore film and I wasn't impressed at all. He looked like he was playing pity pat. He didn't look like he loved football. And I have since rewatched him and realized that I had been watching his sophomore film. So I've now watched his junior film, and definitely a guy who has grown into his body, looks better on his legs. He had long, kind of awkward movements, long legs. It looks more put together now. And now I owe him an apology. The dude looks much, much better. And I'm on board now. If he was in the class, I would be pretty happy about it. So he is in town this weekend, as is Big Duron Parks. Duron Parks, Hurricane, West Virginia. Then he moved down to Sarasota, Florida, to Cardinal Mooney, transferred to Cardinal Mooney. Now, I originally saw that and thought he transferred to our Cardinal Mooney up here in Youngstown. No, transferred to Sarasota, Florida, Cardinal Mooney, and goes further away, but still wants to be a Buckeye. And at 6'5", 360 pounds, he's a guy who, probably going to have some weight need to take off him, but that's okay. That's what Ohio State does. They can handle that just fine. The question is how much this guy, I think he's like a 4th or 5th year developmental guy if he ever starts. There were some people talking about him being kind of like a big time target for Ohio State. I don't see him like that. I see him as being somebody that if they wanted him bad, they could get him in the class right now. So we'll see if they end up needing him. And this weekend, a big one for a couple of reasons. You got some Buckeye targets higher up on the board than a guy like Duron Parks, 2 of them in Drew Evers and Aaron Thomas, both on the same visit together on Texas A&M's campus. And Texas A&M thought to kind of be running, 1-2 with both of those 2 guys. Now, Drew Evers is the priority target of those 2. If you got Drew Evers in, he would be your 3rd highly rated guy with Sam Greer and Max Riley. And Aaron Thomas, a very highly rated project kind of kid, high level project, high ceiling guy, a true tackle body at almost 6'7", played defensive line, move over to the offensive line, just 1 year of film, and picked it up really fast. And he's kind of a dog whose side of his mother's side of the family is from Cleveland, big Buckeye fans. Ryan Day gave him a Buckeye from his bowl in the office to give to grandma. Both these guys really love Ohio State. There's no doubt about that. But Texas A&M, for all the talk we've done about USC, has been spending a ton of money on this class. And we've seen them peel guys right from under our nose. A couple of Ohio guys, and Storm Miller, Vic Singleton, both going to Texas A&M. A target from Bergen Catholic in New Jersey. Jermaine Kinsler, the Buckeyes were getting in on him. And then Texas A&M came in 1 week and signed him with a bunch of other guys. So the question is, what do they end up offering Drew Evers, who wants to be the next Donovan Jackson, and Aaron Thomas, who is, obviously another guy that the Buckeyes want in this class, but aren't going to spend a lot of money on. I mean, he is a project, but a high ceiling project. So we're going to find out coming out of there. And the hope is if they get one, that it's just one. And the Buckeyes would hope that that's not Drew Evers if you could pick your choice. So that's what we're looking at on the offensive side of the ball. Let's move over to the defensive side of the ball. And of course, Ohio State's still with just one defensive lineman in the class, and that is our dude, Kari Wilder, out of Junipero Serra in California, top 250 player in the country, a versatile kid who can play on the end, maybe move inside of some 3-tech when he gets a little older and a little bigger. but a really high-level prospect that I think is a little bit underrated. Well, in town this week, you got one guy who's not underrated, and that's Deuce Gerald's. Deuce is a total dog. Everybody loves Deuce. He's about 6'1", 275, and I've shown you tons of footage of him just mauling 5-star tackles. Yeah, a little bit shorter than you'd like, but he's a dog. He's an Aaron Donald type of dog, and he's been a high-level priority target for the Buckeyes for years now. This is his final official visit. His dad went to Ole Miss. He's been to Ole Miss and visited. He really liked it. No doubt they're going to try hard to get him with some big dollar offers, I'm sure. He's also been to Oregon, been to LSU, been to Michigan, and just not sure where we stand there with him. We'll have to see coming out of this, but sure would be a disappointing thing to not end up with him after all these years of recruiting him and being so high on everybody's board. But you do have another option coming in this week at tackle. That's Damari Simeon, a top 200 guy out of New Jersey, a top 5 player in New Jersey, 6'2", 275, another, solid 3-tech, heck of a playmaker. Larry Johnson went out to his high school and saw him not too long ago on a little, visit that didn't even know Larry was going out there until that picture popped up. But that's pretty exciting. And then you got the 2 edge rushers. So number 1, you got Landon Barnes. And his dad told us here in the comments the other day that he was for sure coming on the visit when I said I didn't know if he was going to make it. So shout out to Landon Barnes' dad who told us he's definitely coming, and he is in town. And his teammate, KJ Ford. Now, these are 2 dudes at Duncanville. Imagine this. You've got 2 Ohio State level defensive ends on the same high school team. They're both the same exact size at 6'3.5", like 245. And they are ranked. This is hilarious here. Look at this. This is their ranking. They are the 18th and 19th ranked edge rusher in the country on 3. So literally 1 spot separates them. And when you watch the film, you get to watch both of them at the same time. So that's pretty cool. I like them both, but I would probably lean KJ Ford if I had to choose. And KJ Ford was the recent ad. So they both visited together during the spring game. And KJ Ford was going to visit USC this weekend. And instead of visiting USC, when they got Luke Waffle, that was their 9th defensive line commitment. Imagine that. Bucks got 1. SC's got 9 defensive line commitments. And they canceled with KJ Ford. Pantone got a hold of him. Boom. He's coming to Ohio State now with his teammate. So Ohio State definitely not standing still, trying to make things happen still as we move here with this defensive line. And other guys on the defensive line that are targets that are elsewhere this weekend, you've got Jackson Ford and Carter Meadows are both at Michigan. Obviously, Carter Meadows, guy we would really, really love to have, the number 1 target at this point. And Jackson Ford is the guy that Larry Johnson said, we could see you as a defensive end, outside linebacker hybrid. And Jackson Ford feels like Penn State, Ohio State, and Michigan's kind of like, if things don't work out, we're going to get Jackson Ford. Feels like he's that level to everybody, but I feel like he's a little better than that. Anyway, Cam Brickle. Cam Brickle is the 6'2", 300-pound defensive tackle, 3-star out of IMG that is pretty twitched up. I really like him. He's at Penn State this weekend. And then you've got Emmanuel Ruffin, who is from Bessemer, Alabama, 6'4", 290-pound, top 300 defensive tackle. And he is from Alabama. He'll be at Alabama with Max Sutter, Keenan Bailey's tight end target, this weekend. So that's what's going on the defensive line. At linebacker, you got CJ Sana and Sincere Johnson in the class now. There is still that long shot possibility of Xavier Griffin. I don't really think that's much of a possibility at all. Personally, he's got the same agent as Tyler Atkinson, and it just feels like that's not going to work out. And what a depressing one that was with Tyler Atkinson, man. That is just something that's tough to take when Ohio State goes from, years of recruiting this guy to literally him saying they were in the lead about a month ago to not getting an official visit, not even getting an official visit. Like, it's just so disheartening, and it makes you hate modern day recruiting. And it almost makes me want to just be like, forget this. This is not even fun anymore. But here we are plugging away. Anyway, in the secondary, buddy, we got a big one. So you got Jordan Thomas and Jacob Weatherspoon, both in town. So Jordan Thomas, your one true outside corner. The Spoon Man, more like your Jordan Hancock type of dude. The other true outside corner on the Buckeyes board, and the only one on the board still, Danny Odom. And Danny Odom, top 200 kid out of Florida, at Nebraska this weekend, the single remaining target for the Buckeyes, and he's got still like a list of 8 schools that he's interested in, and Ohio State got in really, really late. Can they move the needle for him? Because if they don't, they're only bringing in one outside corner in this class, when last year you brought in Devin Sanchez and Jordan Woods. Jordan Woods, 6'4". Is he going to stay in that slot? Is he going to end up needing to move because he's a big kid, already plays like an outside linebacker? Getting 2 outside corners in 2 years is not ideal. Not ideal at all. Then at safety, you got the big one here. You got Braylon Womack coming in, and Braylon Womack comes in the same weekend that Blaine Bradford is in, Simeon Caldwell is in. Got a picture here of the 3 of them with Caleb Downs at the stadium. And that's a pretty cool doggone picture. My buddy Dan pointed out that Blaine Bradford looks a lot like Caleb Downs there. Pretty much everything about him. And he's just a little bit bigger. And he is, man. Kid's neck is humongous. So he's going to be a total dog. I love him, man. That's a great football player. And when we talk about Braylon Womack, decision date's coming up soon. This is his final visit. He's always loved Ohio State. I talked to him about Ohio State after his first camp visit last year, and it was clear that it wasn't just like lip service. Like, he loved Ohio State. He was talking about KJ Hill and a bunch of teams of players from the past. Dude's been following Ohio State from Mississippi. He was very flattered that he was a kid from Mississippi that Ohio State was pursuing, because they never go after kids in Mississippi. And his parents feel like parents who get the benefit of an Ohio State, even if it means maybe sacrificing a few bucks here. In the schools that Ohio State's up against here, his sister goes to one of them. That's Auburn. But she transferred into Auburn to play softball. Wasn't like Auburn was some dream school. So you got Ohio State, Auburn, Florida, and Texas A&M. And Auburn, Florida, and Texas A&M, not on the same tier as Ohio State, but they do have something to offer, and that's money. Now, in the end, proximity to home and money could win the day. Ultimately, I don't think that's going to happen. I think he ends up a Buckeye. So that is what we got for our preview for this weekend. And of course, we will go over what happens and what we're hearing coming out of the weekend. You know who's killing it, guys? Notre Dame is killing it. So one of my buddies on Twitter yesterday was talking about Notre Dame, and he said that he thinks Notre Dame is absolutely going to win a national championship under Marcus Freeman. And I agree. I think that is going to happen for a couple of reasons. Number one, I think Marcus Freeman is totally content at Notre Dame. He's not going anywhere. And he's already been to a national championship game. And he enters this year with a better team than he had that went to the national championship, in my opinion. But I think he's done everything right. I think he has done really good hiring. Parents love him. Recruits love him. Yesterday, he got Joey O'Brien, Pennsylvania's best player, who was always going to be Penn State, it felt like, to sign at Notre Dame or to commit to Notre Dame. He got Kyrie Adams, another almost 5-star cornerback yesterday. Just got those 2 guys yesterday. He's got 2 top 10 running backs. He's got the type of edge rusher committed that we would love to have, a top 3 edge rusher in the country. A loaded offensive line, great offensive line coach. The dude is just killing it. And there was some pushback. Some people were pushing back on me because I said that. And one guy admitted, like, I'm just irritated because of all the praise that Marcus Freeman gets, but all the crap that Ryan Day's had to go through for kind of doing the same exact thing. And it got me thinking, and he's absolutely right. Marcus Freeman comes in, takes over a really, really good program from Brian Kelly. Like, things were pretty well humming, and he's elevated in certain ways. Obviously got him to a national championship, but Brian Kelly got to a national championship, got beat bad in a national championship. So results-wise, Freeman hasn't done any better. Recruiting, it's definitely a little bit better. But Marcus Freeman treated like he's done everything right and been great. And Ryan Day, still after 6 years, treated like, well, he's just building off what Urban made. You know what I mean? And it is kind of unfair. So I get his point. But I will say, I said it at the end of last year, and I feel it even more firmly now, that entering the season for the foreseeable future, we are going to keep entering years where it's going to be like Okay, who can win the national championship? Ohio State, Texas, Georgia, Oregon, Notre Dame's in there. Notre Dame's in there for me. I feel like every year with that schedule, with him leading the show, they are in play for a national championship. I also wanted to hit on Matt Panitaski tonight. Curious as to what you guys think about Panitaski. So Matt Panitaski, some Buckeye fans pretty irritated that Ohio State never offered. And Matt Panitaski, if you're not familiar, the Ohio Gatorade football and baseball player of the year. He is in this 26 quarterback class. Awesome quarterback. He's at the Elite 11 finals this week, and he is blowing up, getting a ton of praise. Bruce Feldman of The Athletic came out talking about Panitaski, electric arm, 97 miles per hour fastball. He made 2 throws that really stood out. And this is a kid that Ohio State never pursued because he wants to play baseball as well. And if you're a quarterback at a quarterback factory like Ohio State, well, it's kind of a full-time gig, man. Like imagine doing mandatory or voluntary team activities and there's a guy consistently missing, whether it's for a good reason or not, right? Obviously, he's playing baseball. It's a good reason, but it just kind of rubs people the wrong way. In addition, when you're the quarterback at Ohio State, it's like, it's got to be a 24/7 gig. But my gosh, this kid is so good. This is literally the first camp he's ever been to. Never been to another camp. And he's lighting it up at the Elite 11. I mean, like if we're just looking from a talent perspective, he blows Luke Fahey away, honestly. And there were some schools willing to look past this. Alabama, Oregon, they both offered him. Alabama's still pursuing him, even though they got a commitment from Jet Tamala, who I also really like. But they're all pursuing him because they don't know if he's going to ever play college football or if he's going to play baseball. Well, he did an interview yesterday. I got a little snippet of it I want you to listen to.
Is it a sure thing you're going to be headed to college? I mean, the MLB draft's going to come calling. Like, how confident are you going to be stepping on a college campus at one point?
Yeah, I think this summer's a big summer for me.
Yeah.
As far as baseball goes, it'd be great to be drafted, and I think it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. But it's gonna have to be, NIL is kind of crazy these days.
Yeah.
So I try to stay out of it, and I have an advisor that helps me out a lot. But I think it's gonna have to hit a money slot, or because I truly do love football, and my plan is to play football. But if baseball comes with life-changing money, I think it's something that I'm gonna have to do. But I know that the schools I'm talking to, they're well aware, and they're totally open to still recruiting me.
So you got the Final Four. You got Arkansas, Kentucky, Oregon.
I'll tell you, I guess it is refreshing to hear a kid just come out and say it, right? If the money's right, I'm doing that. But at the same time, it's like, my gosh, man. This kid could be looking at a ridiculous amount of money, and I doubt he's playing college football. But at any rate, I thought that was a pretty interesting story. Now, I've got a couple of comments I'm going to review that have been in the comment section I wanted to get through the other day, but interesting to see if you guys got anything that you wanted to talk about in here, as I have not been paying attention. Okay. Oh, no. It's all about Scoop. Oh, man. Okay. Never mind. Obviously, I get all right. For those who haven't heard, former All-American Kirk Barton was in a horrific accident, car accident at 3 a.m. on Saturday morning. And as a result of that accident, a 24-year-old passed away. So that has got Ohio State social media really buzzing about it. I think some of the stuff I've seen is pretty disgusting. It's like an absolutely horrific tragedy. And I got a 25-year-old son, and it's just like, I've not even processed how I feel about it. That's what happened. And thoughts and prayers to everybody about it. But taking it into any kind of realm of sport is just kind of disgusting to me. Anyway, that's why I'm not really getting into it. So moving on, couple of comments. Little Game Boy says, Juck, now Carter Meadows is a must get. And that is something I'm curious. I think Carter Meadows is a must get for a lot of the Ohio State fan base to say this was a successful defensive line class. No doubt about that. But until I see how Matt Patricia runs this defense, I don't really know that he's a must get, but he is one of one as far as who Ohio State's recruiting. Like that guy isn't out there. It's just him or else. Jimmy Jackson says, I know it's not our style, but can we just drop a bag once? Hey, if we get Braylon Womack, might have happened. Anon says, just be happy he went to the Big Ten. Now he's talking about Luke Waffle. And I have a hard time with this logic. So essentially what he's saying here, and I know some of you guys feel this way. Essentially what he's saying is this kid made the Big Ten better. I should feel better about it. And when I see a kid go to a Big Ten school, I'm thinking he just made a school we got to play in our conference better. Why in the world would that make me happy? Why? I don't understand. It just doesn't square with me one bit. Could someone explain it to me? I just don't get it. Timothy Holyfield says, Juck with the grandpa opinions today. I hate how these kids take recruiting pics. Now, he's talking about my irritation with all these kids taking pics with their shoes in front of their face. I don't get it. They're taking pictures with visors on. Look, I spend an hour a day coming up with these stupid thumbnails because I try to be perfect about them. And I could probably do it in 10 minutes if I wanted to, but I'm trying to make them look cool and interesting. And before I realize it, an hour has passed and I'm working on these stupid YouTube thumbnails. Well, I get excited when official visit picture season rolls around because I've just got a wealth of material to work with. And I got to pitch half of it because they got their faces covered and it is incredibly obnoxious. That's what that was about. Not, I don't care. They could do whatever they want, but that's the way it is. It's about that. Samuel Morrell asked, Juck, what ranking do you think is better to reference on 24/7, the in-house ranking or the composite ranking? And that's a great question. So I'm actually making a switch pretty soon. Now, I always think it's better to reference a composite because a composite, we always usually see if we're looking at all four, there is one that's an outlier. And while I think 247 is very good, I don't want their outlier. I want everybody's grades together. But when we look at everybody's grades together, there is one outfit that is factored into there that is notoriously unreliable and horrible, and that's ESPN. I don't want their input in there at all. I wish we could subtract it. Rivals has some scouts. They still have some things. They still invest some money into it. And this is why the On3 composite, which they call the industry ranking, is actually the best. And here's why. I know On3 itself isn't the best with their internal rankings, but the reason the On3 industry standard ranking is the best is because On3 is 35% of it, 35% of that ranking. 247 is 35% of that ranking. Rivals is 20% of that 100%, and ESPN is only 10. So it's the best by way of it shrinks down Rivals to 20%, and that's good. It's based on the investment. It's based on how much do you invest in the department. So Rivals has shrunk down a little bit. ESPN shrunk down to 10%. So it almost nullifies them. And I've been waiting to do this to make that switch over from the 247 composite to the On3 industry standard. And I'm about this close to doing it. So that is the explanation on that. But in my opinion, either one of them, it's going to be the composite that I'm going to be going with. Just because, I've seen some out. For instance, JB Shabazz. Okay, JB Shabazz. This one's crazy. JB Shabazz is a 3-star, like the number 500 player in the country on the majority of the sites. And On3 has him as the number like sixth tackle in the country. So just like a crazy outlier on this player. And we see outliers all the time. And I want those outliers nullified. That way we have as many hours as we can on it. Brandingo says, Juck, it might be time for you to pull some strings and make Luke an offer he can't refuse. All the smothered and covered hash browns he could ever want. He's talking Waffle House. That's not it, guys. It's not Waffle House. Our guy David Bowen says, Luke was definitely about the NIL and only used the threat of going to Ohio State to enhance his NIL with USC. I prefer culture and development over five-star hype, which is the Ohio State University keeps doing well with simple no stars, 2 stars, or 3-star players who go on to bright futures, just like the 5 stars that go elsewhere. David, I appreciate you. I don't know where you got this impression that Ohio State was Wisconsin. Ohio State has last year literally the highest rating you could possibly have of 4 and 5 stars than anybody in the country. They're not doing this with subpar talent. 80% of the roster was 4 and 5 star players. There aren't any 2 stars. Those don't exist. There are very, very high level 3 stars, or there are blue chippers, which is a 4 or a 5 star. I understand that culture absolutely matters. The thing about Ohio State is they're able to get guys that are highly rated and appreciate that stuff. But you are describing a program that is not the Ohio State program with that description there. But at any rate, I appreciate your comment. And your sentiment is the right sentiment, but that is inaccurate. All right, guys, that's all I got for that. Any interesting comments from you guys out here? Terrence says, if you could get any dude left to add to the class, who you picking? I'm picking Carter Meadows. I am picking Carter Meadows. Colton says, I think all the sites use Ohio State as clickbait because of how big our fan base is. Just have to take it all in. You know, a lot of these guys' jobs is to get action. You know, that's how they make money. And there is no doubt. I'll give you this, for instance. So there are some college, there is one particular one. He is a national college football show, but he does 10-minute, 15-minute videos, spits out about 3 or 4 of them a day. And you can go through, and I've done it, and looked at his videos and just looked at how many views each one gets. And when he talks about Ohio State, it's like double the views of anything else. And that's not just because we are so big. It's because of how many people hate us and want to see what's going on. And it's just true. And because of this, Ohio State, there's been periods where it looks like he's an Ohio State show because he'll pump out so many of these 10-minute videos about Ohio State. It's like, dude, what are you doing? Like, it looks like my list, right? Like here's a Julian Sayin thumbnail. There's a Jack Sawyer thumbnail. There's a Brian Day thumbnail. I'm like, what's going on here? But it's true. Nobody moves the needle like that. There's Richie. See, Richie was saying the other day in jest, but now it's a little different. It's a little different. Emily says there are buyouts now, correct? Now, this is interesting, guys. So there is the potential that we're going to see guys not entering the portal, a smaller percentage entering the portal. And here's why. Let's say if you are a freshman and you are getting into Ohio State or Clemson or Texas, whatever, you are going to sign your revenue share deal. Okay. So they're going to tell me as a freshman, all right, Juck, we're going to give you 150 grand year one, which if we break down that 13.5 million and just spread it out even over 91 players, that's 150 grand. It's going to grow 4% every year. But let's just say we're going to give you 150 grand year one. Year two, you're going to get a bonus for sticking around year two. It's going to go up to 200 grand. Sign here. That's your 2-year deal. Okay. So I'm on that 2-year deal. Let's say after year one, I want to hit the transfer portal. I want to get out of Ohio State. Well, I'm under contract for 2 years. and they owe me 200 grand. Okay. Well, I'm not a very sought after player. I haven't done anything at Ohio State. I've been riding the pine, and the school who gets me out of the portal has to turn around and pay Ohio State 200 grand, my buyout. Then it comes off of their salary cap. Then in addition to that, they've got to pay me what they're going to pay me, and that comes off their salary cap. So in essence, I've become worth double. Like I'm now costing that second team double, which means I might think twice about entering the transfer portal, because if it's just really a bad situation and I want to get out, okay, that's one thing. But I might not make any money at all. I might make a pittance, and everybody's just going to be like, look, we'll take you. We want you, but we would have paid 200 grand for you, and we've got to pay Ohio State that 200 grand. So, I don't know what to tell you. There's not any money now for you to give to you because it's going to your buyout. In which case, I may be like, I'm going to make nothing. I'm just going to ride it out this year. When we talk about big time players, guys that are making big bucks, now it's an even stickier situation. Let's say Luke Waffle with his 2-year deal wants to leave USC in year 2. He's making $1.3 million a year. Well, if he doesn't do anything in year 1, right? Let's say he rides the pine year 1, in year 2 he wants to go somewhere, and Ohio State wants him. They have to pay USC $1.3 million, then take a cap hit of $1.3 million. Remember, there's only 13.5. So they got to take that cap hit, and now Luke Waffle's going to expect some money, and I'm supposed to give him money, and that's going to come off the cap hit as well. Which means a guy like Luke Waffle is stuck. He's not going anywhere unless, of course, he blows up his freshman year and then wants to transfer. But this adds a whole new dynamic to the transfer portal. It's a huge dynamic, and it might slow down the activity quite a bit. Basically, is how I see it. Chris knows who I'm talking about. Colton says, Juck, do you think Day will offer his son? How does that look? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. No. He is a really good kid. Like, if he just wants to be a part of the team, I'm sure that they would let it happen. But he wants to go play, and he deserves to go play. He's a little player. Not anywhere near an Ohio State caliber player, but he's a player, so he wants to go carve his own thing. And I would honestly, I would hate to see that. You know what I mean? Montana 808 Beats says, Juck, I know this is off base. What's up with all Arch Manning hype? Well, he was the #1 recruit in the country. He is a guy who is basically from football royalty, and he's different than his uncles in that he's an athlete. Like, he's an athlete. He's big and he's strong. He's 6'4". He's got big legs. He's physical. He throws a beautiful ball. In the 2 starts that he had last year, he put up like 900 yards. So there's a ton of excitement for him. I'm a believer that he's going to be a good quarterback, but the people who are really dug in on it, like he's going to be a top 3 quarterback, like those people, I find it a bit bizarre. You know what I mean? Lewis Lee says, don't put RJ. Are you new to me? I put everybody on blast, baby. That's what we do here. Fake Pate? Absolutely. Absolutely. JD Pickle got a whole episode about him and the fraud that he is. Rod says, Juck, what player do you think is breakout this year that nobody is talking about? I've thought forever that Jarquez Carter is potentially going to be a freshman that might play more snaps than all the rest of them. And the more we hear about, the issues with the depth on the D-line, and we're talking Tywone Malone and Jason Moore above him, I don't see Jason Moore coming around. I think Tywone Malone may be able to. But if Quez
who is stronger than both of them right now, for one. I'll just add that right now. He is stronger physically than both of them in both squat and bench press. He's a stronger man. Yeah, he's younger. So he's stronger. Doesn't weigh quite as much yet, but he is stronger and he's quicker. I absolutely think that there is a shot that we see him playing a lot of football this year. And I would just love it. Buck Vader on the Meadows bandwagon. Rod, yeah, I'm so disgusted by that whole thing, to be honest. It's just disgusting. Dave, what's up, buddy? Dave's optimistic about K-Mac having a huge year. I'm with you. I wouldn't have factored him into that, though, into that question Rod asked, buddy, because I feel like most of us feel that way. You know what I mean? He's just a big twitched up monster. I think the question is, does he have the gas in the tank to play 75% or 85% of the snaps when you really need him in a big game? And I think he does. He's lost a little bit of weight. He looks a little leaner. So I'm excited about him. Oh, I knew this was coming soon. For all the talk about Bowen being a great recruiter, if it wasn't for in-state guys, this offensive class would be terrible. Now, listen. We have watched so many guys from in-state peel out of town the last 2 years. Like, I don't know. I have a rough time with that. But you are somewhat correct. However, it is number one, right? It's class number one. It was an abbreviated class. And I'm certainly not going to judge him a ton on this. I think it is really lucky you had some high-level guys in state. But if he ends up with Drew Evers, you got 3 top 200-ish guys. And Aaron Thomas would be a heck of a project. I think Tucker Smith, really good looking. So we'll see. But we certainly did see a whole lot of guys pop off the board in the last 2 weeks that I was not anticipating. And I was hoping to make some more movement on Brett Koleje. And it doesn't look like that's happening at all. So that sucks. Montana, listen, my sons went out of town. They're at Penn State. My sons are at Happy Valley, which they've been to a couple times with their buddies. Rod, who you got, Michigan or Oklahoma? OU -1.5 as of today. I just don't know what Michigan does week 1 at quarterback, and I think any way they go, I'm taking OU. Absolutely. Absolutely. And if I didn't, I'd lie to you. All right, friends. I appreciate you all so much for joining me on a impromptu Saturday evening. Always a lot of fun to get on here live. I hope that the picture wasn't too terrible with my wonky signals I get down here in the Buckeye lair, but it is what it is. We try our best around here. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you. Please like the show on your way out. Share it with a friend. Hit the subscribe button. All that stuff would help. Thank you so much, and I will appreciate you. Appreciate you, Don. Thank you. Talk to you guys later. Juck back up.
So, Juck over. We cannot allow everything to be stripped away from us because they change the formats around us, the traditions, the stadiums, the uniforms, the rivalries. If we allow them to devalue it, we lose a lot of what makes college football special. Don't let them do it. Don't let them devalue what it means to you. I don't know. Maybe it's just my age.